Should we start with Poland? What do we need to do about what's going on?
Well, it's obviously deeply, deeply concerning, isn't it? And Poland is an ally of ours. Our bonds of friendship with Poland are deep and strong. I don't want to speculate. I'm not in a position to speculate anyway, but obviously we need our NATO allies to investigate what's happened, get to the bottom of what has happened, but we do need to be calm, let's not rush into anything here, and allow the international community to work out what's gone on.
Yeah, whatever the findings of the investigation, do you agree with the Prime Minister that this would not have happened if Russia had not invaded Ukraine?
Well, that is, of course, the backdrop to all of this, and our support and solidarity with Ukraine remains steadfast. And, of course, absolutely, we would not be in this situation if it wasn't for this absolutely appalling invasion of Ukraine by Russia. And again, the whole of the international community is united in saying to Russia, you should not be doing this and you need to back off, and we'll continue to support Ukraine in any way we can.
One of the byproducts of what's happening in Ukraine is inflation rising right around the world, not least because of food costs, grain from Ukraine, prices going up 11.1% today.
Yeah, and absolutely. And actually 16% for food year on year. That's the highest level for food since 1977, so 45 years or so. This is deeply, deeply worrying. And of course, we're less able to weather these storms in the UK because we've had 12 years of lacklustre economic performance in the UK. Now, what I would say to the government is that you can take measures to strengthen our economy. We shouldn't have had that disastrous budget 7 or 8 weeks ago, which led to a run on pension funds, to mortgage rates increasing for many homeowners across the country. But you can do things by getting people back to work. We've got over 1 million vacancies in our economy, yet we've got 1.5 million people unemployed. And people who are out of work because of sickness is now over 2.5 million, the highest on record. I think we should be aiming for the highest employment in the G7. And I want to see, and I would introduce, if I was the Secretary of State for Work and Pensions, welfare reforms to support people to move into good quality jobs and stay in work, because that's one of the ways, getting more people into the work is one of the ways in which you can tackle this inflation in our economy.
That disastrous mini-budget, nothing to do with this Chancellor, though. What does he need to do tomorrow to try to steady the ship?
Well, it was the Conservative Party who gave us that disastrous budget.
Yeah, but it wasn't him.
It wasn't him, but it was the Conservative Party who gave us this disastrous budget, which led to the run on pension funds and mortgage rates going up. Look, I think we need to give our pensioners a fair increase in the pension. They shouldn't see the pension cut. I think working people and disabled people deserve a fair increase in their universal credit payment. That shouldn't be cut in real terms either. We've been putting pressure on the Chancellor to honour his promises to the poorest and the vulnerable and pensioners in society. But as I say,
the minimum wage we expect by 10%.
Well, let's see if the minimum wage goes up. That is a good thing, quite obviously. But I don't want to see people's standards of living cut back because we see further cuts in things like the universal credit or the pension. And we've got to give people support to get into work. We should not be writing off people to a life on benefits because they're sick and unwell, but not getting any help from the system. That's one of the reforms I'm passionate about introducing. Let's see if the government are actually prepared to put the right welfare reforms in place.
And where's this magic money tree?
Where's the magic
money tree?
Well, I mean, we're in this situation because of the disaster.
Yeah, we are.
7 or 8 weeks ago. But if you can get more people into work, if you can aim to have the highest employment in the G7, that grows your economy, and households are better off as well, so it's good for the economy. We would do other things. We would invest in an industrial strategy. We'd invest in green energy, in onshore energy, in solar, in wind farms, in order to create jobs but bring down people's bills as well.
So you'd have to borrow the money?
Well, we've said we would borrow the money for that project, but in the long term, you pay it off because you're increasing jobs in your economy, you're growing your economy, and you're bringing people's bills down.
Yeah, but we are where we are, and we are a basket case when it comes to our economy at the moment. It looks as though the Chancellor has no choice but to put up taxes. That's something you would support?
Well, we've called for a fair taxation system. But you talk about basket case. They've been in for 12 years, and we're in this situation because of 12 years of lacklustre growth and the disastrous budget of 8 weeks ago.
And the war in Europe and the COVID pandemic.
Yeah, but we could have weathered this storm. I mean, the war in Europe didn't take away the £20 uplift in universal credit.
No,
for example,
but
that
it's
was Rishi
certainly
Sunak.
impacted on inflation.
You know, the war in Europe didn't cut the pension. That was the the pension triple lock. That was the government. Look, we believe in a fair taxation system. You can do more by taxing the big bumper profits of the gas and oil producers who are making profits because of the war in Europe, not because of any entrepreneurial zeal on their part. It's just simply the international situation has meant their profits have gone up. We can go further on the windfall tax on that front.
We should be going to, aren't we? Isn't that the impression that we're being given?
Well, there's so many different kites flying. I mean, who knows, really? I mean, so much in the papers. The other day, it suggests everyone's going to be paying more income tax. It suggests that pensioners are going to be paying more tax on their pension. So let's actually see where we get to. But we could extend the windfall tax. We should get rid of the non-dom rating for people, because that would bring in billions. We could use that money to fund expanded staff in the NHS.
Again, that kite's been flown, isn't it, to see what people say?
Well, I'm pleased that they're looking at some of the proposals that the Labour Party have been putting forward. But the point I'm making is there is a fairer way to tax in this country, and from the proceeds of that tax, you could fund the investment in your public services.
What do you think about President Trump 2024?
I'm not surprised he's announced, but the elections in the US last week were disappointing for the Trump supporters. So I'm not convinced that Trump is if the Republicans want to take back the White House, I'm not convinced that Trump is the candidate to do it.
Who is? DeSantis?
I guess the Republicans would. He seems to be the coming man for the Republicans. Mm-hmm. But obviously, as a Labour politician, my sympathies are with the Democrats. Yeah. And I'd want to see the Democrats re-elected.
Even when you're in power in 2024, it'll be about the same time as we see potentially a change of power in the United States of Trump or DeSantis. Which would you rather do business with?
Well, you know, a government has to do business with whoever is the US president.
That's my question.
No, I know, but obviously, when you're in government, you do business with whoever the president is, don't you? That's just the bonds between the United States, United Kingdom, are very, very, very deep. So you work with whoever the president is. But look, I mean, who knows? A lot can change in 2 years. But given the performance of the Trump-backed candidates last week, I'm not so sure if Trump is the best asset for the Republican Party these days.
Well, let's see. It's good to see you as always, Mr. Ashworth. Thanks very much indeed.